to No Bunts, the podcast for the casual baseball fan here on the Athletic Baseball Show. I'm Melas in studio in Atlanta, and with me, making the magic happen, it's super producer JD.
Hello.
Hello, JD. And with us, my co-host all season long from across the world in Taiwan, it's Joel MacMillan. Joel, how you doing? And have the cats been fed?
What time is it? I think they're going to be fed in about 45 minutes. Yeah, 9:15 is when the machines go off. So in a bit. And I'm well. Thanks for asking.
I always need to ask. You change locations on us so you're not at home, so you don't know exactly when the cats are going to be fed, or you change the cat's time because you changed locations, and they're allowed to be fed later on because it would have been noisy otherwise if you were at home.
You just hit a home run there, Tass. That's exactly what happened. Well done.
Hey, we got to give the listener what they want. If you're new to No Bunts, we talk about cats every week. Also, we hope that you will be with us every single week because we plan. No, we will not we plan. We will be doing a lot of fun things around the game of baseball. So join us on the Athletic Baseball Show feed every week, and we stream live on YouTube on Wednesdays. Today, forget about the season. Today, we will debut a new segment called Yer Out, where we got to eliminate one topic from a certain category. It's going to be fun. I attended a game here in Atlanta to get the feel of the new rules in person, so we'll get to that. But let's start, Joel, with some bold proclamations in a segment we're calling It's Only April, but... Yeah, let's just get out there. Our predictions, our proclamations. We've seen teams play 11 or 12 games. We've seen enough. We know what's going to happen, Joel. So let's map out the rest of the season here for the people out there. Start with this one. As I mentioned, the rules, that is the hot topic. The first one here, it's only April, but the rule changes have made the game a lot better, Joel.
Absolutely agree. Early returns look very good. Averages up 16 points from last year. Steals are up from 1.2 per game to 1.32 per game. And the time of the game is down 31 minutes. I think the product looks excellent. It's exciting. It's fast-paced. It's very different from last year. I'm still kind of getting used to it because it does move so quick. But I love how the product looks so far. Absolutely love it. No complaints. There's been a few hiccups here and there, I think, with pitchers and hitters, but I think that will kind of get fleshed out, as the season goes on. But for me personally, I think the game is a lot better. Absolutely.
The violations have been a lot fewer and far between than I expected, especially looking back to how it worked in the minor leagues last year. There haven't been many violations, and that's also to lump on the fact that not only are there pitch clocks for the pitchers and the hitters got to be in the box, and obviously the shift rules have been banned, but there's also the pitch comm that we'll get into a little bit later on, where pitchers now have the ability to type in on their wrist so the catcher can hear what pitch that they want to hear. That's new for this year. Last year, only the catchers could do it. So the fact that we're getting so many just quick games, as you said, the time down without the violations is surprising to me. I thought the steals were up even more. I was surprised by that number that you threw out there, Joel. They have dropped, I guess, the last couple days. The pace has dropped a couple plays, but we will get into it a little bit more as I get into my experience at the games. How it does feel a little bit different, like you said. It must be different for some people to get used to. I will say, just watching from home, the broadcast experience has been pretty solid in terms of the little clock that comes up. Now, watching different broadcasts from team to team to team, sometimes you'll see it pop up with 12 seconds, that 15-second clock that the pitcher has when there's nobody on, or it'll pop up with 10. It'll change. Even the broadcasts are getting used to it. But I don't think it's not taking over the broadcast by any means. That's obviously not what baseball wants. And I think it is feeling more like a shot clock in basketball or a play clock in football where it's just there. And fans walk away and say, wow, that game was fast. And everybody is focused on that. And I will say that the pitch comm, I'm sure, is having a big effect as well, because there are very minimal shakeoffs from the catchers. And I was in person. I've got my my popcorn jug here from the Braves Stadium. Nice. I've got all my little tchotchkes we'll get into a little bit later. But yes, rule changes overall, they feel good, and I do want to get to even just the look of the field, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Okay, next one here. It's only April, but Boston versus Toronto will be the best matchup this season. I was shocked when you wanted to make that proclamation, Joel.
Little bit of a homerism in this one, being a Jays fan. But last week, Alex Verdugo did an interview, and I just kind of heard the clip. I don't know like what led into it, but he was, talking about how certain players were kind of celebrating too much, and it was rubbing him the wrong way or rubbing certain guys the wrong way. And he specifically mentioned Alek Manoah by name and, said a couple of kind of derogatory things. And then Manoah responded and said, I don't give a bleep. They're division rivals. I think they had a game last year where like the benches did clear. During that game, Alek Manoah told one of the players to sit the F down. Division games are always going to be heated, and Toronto owned the season series last year. They beat Boston 16 games. Boston only won 3. They outhit them. They outscored them. It was just very, very one-sided. So I think going into the season with Verdugo's comments, and Manoah's just a dude that to me seems like he doesn't really take anything, from anyone. And I'm excited to see these teams play, really. I think it'll be exciting. I hope it doesn't like end up in fighting or anything. I don't like to see that. I don't like to see guys get hurt. But I love me some good beef, always makes things spicy.
I guess I was surprised because Boston is projected to be the worst team in the AL East. And your prediction of 4 teams making it from the AL East, being the Jays, the Rays, the Yanks, and the Orioles sneaking in. They were pretty close last year. It is a good one, and it is looking fantastic. Adley Rutschman of the Orioles looking amazing. I see a lot of people calling him the best catcher in baseball, which, heck, sure looks like it so far this season. It would make total sense if the 4 teams in the AL East make the playoffs, and if the Red Sox are a part of that, a part of the drama in the AL East, I guess you can call it. Obviously, yes, we've got some homer bias, but it's the best division in baseball regardless, and regardless of bias. And if the Red Sox join the fray, Joel, it'll clearly be the best division in baseball. How quickly, before we get on to the next one, how are you feeling about your 4 AL East teams make the postseason prediction?
Looks good so far. Baltimore looks good. Toronto looks good. Tampa Bay's 11-0, I think, last night. And, the Yankees are off to a good start. So I don't really look at the wild card standings. We've only been playing for less than 2 weeks. Yeah, too soon. But I mean, and even Boston, I think, is just 1 game under 500. I mean, the division is going to be tight, and I'm sticking with that. I truly believe that, the AL East has a legitimate shot of having 4 teams in the postseason. I'm going to double down on it.
All right, let's get away from the AL East for a second, because we do talk about other teams, other divisions. It's only April, but Trey Turner is the sickest player to watch in baseball. I believe that's the terminology you wanted to use, and I was down with it, Joel.
Okay. Tess, for the record, I think I said slickest player.
No.
I think I said slickest.
Didn't you have 2 options in the document? I thought you had slickest and sickest. No? Oh, maybe that's
me.
We
can go to the tape after. We can
check the edits.
I haven't used the word sickest. But anyway, I mean, it still pertains to this question. But sickest, slickest. For me, it's absolutely Trey Turner. I mean, I'm going to sound like such a nerd saying this, but he's so cool. He's just
coolest player.
he's very smooth. Like, he's been gifted and memed. He's got that really cool, like, no effort slide. He's very exciting to watch. He had a great World Baseball Classic. He made a play last week where he slid and caught a foul ball while blowing a bubble and maintained the bubble task. So,
wow.
It doesn't get any sicker or slicker than that.
Sounds like a good segment. Sicker or slicker?
Or cool.
Or cooler.
Or cooler.
Yeah. Well, you sold me on Trey Turner. That does sound cool. It sounds sick. It sounds slick. Coming off the World Baseball Classic performance, he was the talk of the tournament to some degree for the American team, as well as the talk during the offseason. So I'm cool with it. It's good to have some NL content in here, but let's get back to the AL because we are a little bit biased. Let's be completely honest. I'll take this one, Joel, because you didn't want to touch this with the 10-foot pole, and I respect you for it. It's only April, but Aaron Judge is going to break his own home run record. Admittedly, this one is stupid. This is for the casual fan out there that just wants to know about the Yanks and about Aaron Judge. Now, he's way behind pace. That's why it's stupid. Mm-hmm. It's a stupid proclamation. He hit 2 versus the Orioles on Sunday. He has 4 this season. Now, 4, way behind pace. But behind his in relation to his pace of last year, he's far ahead. He hit 4 homers on April 26th is when he hit his 4th homer last year. So April 9th versus April 26th. So he's far ahead of that pace, but again, way behind the pace of 62. I will say he's hit 37 career home runs versus the Orioles, where he hit 2 on Sunday. And the divisional battles, the weighted schedules has changed this season. They go down. The number of games that you play against your own division has gone down from 19 to 13. So the fact that he doesn't get as many games against the Orioles maybe hurts him, because that's by far the team that he has hit the most home runs against. But just wanted to update people on the Aaron Judge situation, Joel, because listen, as a casual baseball fan last year, it was something that I was watching, something the entire world was watching. So I wanted to update people. He obviously picked up an extremely quick pace last year. Mm-hmm. The fact that he only had 4 on April 26th. Now the season started a little bit later, a week later last year. But obviously getting to 62 would be difficult in any season. So it's dumb to say, Joel, but I just wanted to throw that out there.
Well, Tass, just really quickly, I just want to, when I was preparing for the show today, players have only hit 60 home runs or more in back-to-back seasons. And oddly enough, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire hit over 60 in 1998 and 1999. And I believe that's the only time it's been done in MLB history. So to accomplish that feat is extremely difficult. And I know Aaron Judge is one of the most talented baseball players we've seen in a very long time. And it's not a knock on Judge. It's so hard to replicate a season like that. I mean, when Bonds was on his tear in the early 2000s, even when he broke it, he never even hit 60 or more in back-to-back seasons. The year after he broke the record, I believe he hit 27 fewer home runs, and he still had like a crazy season. So it really, truly is hard to do, Tass. And yeah, I've got the same thing in my notes here too, is that I think a balanced schedule actually hurts a guy like Judge, because like when you're playing divisional teams, you play them, I think 18 or 19 times a year. You're going to get a lot of good looks at both their starting pitching and their relief pitching. But with a balanced schedule, you're not really going to have as much scouting. You're not going to have as much experience facing some of these guys. And I think that's an advantage to the pitcher and not the hitter. So it'll be interesting to see if Judge can do it again. But I'm going to say no, not because Judge doesn't have the ability to do it. I just think historically it's just very, very difficult to do.
That's a very good point. I do love the balanced schedule, though, just from a casual fan's perspective, just to see other teams play against my team, you see every NL team in our AL bias in the case of our AL bias. I love that. So I am looking forward to the balanced schedule, no doubt, even if Aaron Judge isn't. All right, let's move on, Joel, to this next one. It's only April, but the Angels are going to miss the playoffs again.
It's too early to tell. It's too early to tell, in my opinion. I think they're around 500.
6-5 right now.
6-5 right now. Okay. Their bullpen blew 2 games against Toronto this past weekend. I think that's really just kind of the Achilles heel of the Angels, and it has been for years, at least as long as Trout's been there, is they just don't have the pitching, and it's very frustrating, to see them kind of waste Trout and now Ohtani's prime basically by not surrounding them and supplementing that team with good pitching. I think they're going to be better than last year, but I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, not so much because I think they're bad. It's just I think there's teams better than them. I think a lot of things are going to need to break right for Anaheim to qualify for one of those playoff spots, because they're not going to win the division. And I just think there's better teams ahead of them in the wild card race. But I want Anaheim to get in. I want Ohtani, especially after the World Baseball Classic. I want Ohtani and I want Mike Trout playing in high leverage, exciting games. It's just heartbreaking as a baseball fan to not be able to see that. It breaks my heart.
I hate to put you on the spot with this question because you brought up their starting pitching. And last year, I know it was something that happened with the Angels where they threw 6 guys a lot. They had 6 starters a lot just to take the weight off Ohtani to some degree. But that obviously dilutes their starting pitching, because if you don't have a number 3, obviously you don't have a 5 and a 6. I think they've gone with 5 to this point of the season because of the way the days off have worked out. But I assume they're going to do the same thing this year, right? Where they start 6 guys, and that is a detriment to their team. Or is it possible I'm wrong and they're only going to start 5 guys like a regular rotation?
I don't know if they've used 6 starters. I believe they're only going with a 5-man rotation thus far. I could be wrong.
No, I think that's right to this point, especially because the way the schedule has worked out. There's days off. Right. There's plenty, so it works out. We are obviously early, but to this point, from what I'm seeing, they've only threw out 5.
Yeah. Sandoval looks good. He had a great World Baseball Classic, and he pitched really well the other night against Toronto. He looks good, but I just don't think they, over the course of 162 games, I don't think they have the arms to just get there. I just don't.
All right, fair point, Joe. Let's move on here. It's only April, but the Rays are going to go undefeated. Yeah, they're 11-0, Joel. The Tampa Bay Rays.
Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. What would we have to do the finite math on that, probabilities. What would the odds of that actually be?
I don't think you can come up with a number big enough. Is it like winning a lottery? Probably.
Isn't finite math? You just calculate the odds. I don't know. I digress. But it would be tough. But yeah, to your point, I mean, they look great. But I will say this. Tass, they've played 4 bad teams. And you can't fault Tampa Bay for that. They don't make the schedule. But the combined records of the teams that they've played is 13-31. None of those 4 teams are over 500. That said, they're winning. They're winning big. They're blowing teams out. They're winning close games. They've had several shutouts already. They look like a very well-oiled machine. They have a very good chance at winning the division. 11 wins in a row is 11 wins in a row, regardless if it's in April or September. And the AL East is going to be such a close division. And this really, really boosts their chance of winning the division. And we all know, how important that is with the new playoff rules, getting a bye and such. So I think, they're really a team that is going to be, I would not want to play the Rays. I wouldn't say they're a World Series favorite, but they're a team that like I wouldn't want to play in the playoffs. Just I think they'd be a very, very tough out.
Same old story with the Rays. Always a tough out. They keep doing it. Yeah, they've played the Nats, Tigers, A's, and Red Sox. So that's the toughest team that they've played there. But 11-0 is 11-0, as you said. And I'm not going to go and calculate the probabilities. We just threw out the word undefeated in there for absolutely, yeah, just the clicks. Joel, we know they're not going undefeated. But, what we did have in here, since we've done a little behind-the-scenes Google Doc, I'm correct in saying this. It was the Rays go undefeated or the Rays win the AL East. And
okay.
So how do you feel about even that proclamation with the Yanks and the Jays being there along with them? Is that it's too early to say that the Yanks and Jays only 4 games behind right now?
Even before the season test, even without the 11-game win streak, I would still say Tampa would be a legit favorite to win the American League East. I feel what's kind of hurt them the past few seasons has been injuries. They've had a hard time staying healthy. So, them winning the American League East, I don't think that's a bold proclamation at this point. I think it's a very valid take.
And I wanted to throw this in there for our man JD because we covered the playoffs so closely here, and we saw the Rays Pete Fairbanks, the relief pitcher. He was pitching in Cleveland. It was a cold one in Cleveland, and the Rays reliever came in and immediately walked a couple guys, looked at his hand, and immediately said, "My hand is really cold. I can't feel my hands." Was the exact quote, JD. And what was the syndrome you diagnosed him with from here?
Raynaud's syndrome. Yeah.
I think it was called Raynaud's. Where
Raynaud's.
What is that all about?
It basically the blood vessels in your hands tense up and cut off the blood circulation to your fingers. So I get it. It's brought on by cold or stress. Mm-hmm. And he was cold, and you're pitching in a playoff MLB game. I imagine that's pretty stressful. So I think that's what it was.
Yeah, and we did see a lot of pitchers with cold hands because as the season went, a little bit later in October and November that was happening a lot. But Pete Fairbanks, just wanted to mention, he's back on the hill and pitching well. All right, this one's a contentious one here, Joel. It's only April, but the Blue Jays have the best stadium in baseball. Now, we know that's not the case as homers. But I bring this up because of the renovations. Tuesday night, finally, the Jays had their first home game, and the renovations were shown off. What they're trying to do is take this old stadium and turn it into a ballpark, as they say in baseball. They tried to renovate the outfield specifically. So the things that they done, the outfield seats now run right up against the fence, so the fans are right in there instead of that big gap. There are new dimensions to the fences. There's taller fences, raised bullpens, which are awesome. Instead of being in this cove down there where fans can't see them, they're now up so you can actually see them. They replaced the plastic chairs in the 500 level. We're going way up there. Those chunky seats now have been replaced. And the biggest thing when you're talking about converting a stadium into a ballpark is they've made some neighborhoods, as they say, in the outfield. Toronto is a city of neighborhoods, so we all know that. So the fact that they've added basically these drinking spots, these overhanging areas where drinking spots is a good word for them, because the shots during the broadcast yesterday showed it felt like people were at a bar, like lined up in pairs, just kind of trying to see over someone's shoulder. And Alejandro Kirk bopped one there. It was perfect timing for the Jays as he put one right into the overhang into left field where they're lined up there. And so they've tried to create these spots where you can hang. It is a difficult ask to do that in a stadium that's already constructed, just because there's not a lot of room to create these things. in comparison here at Truist Park in Atlanta, there's concrete for days where you can line up 10 people in the standing room only sections. But I wanted to bring this up because it happened yesterday. It's our hometown of Toronto. The dome was open. Unseasonable temperatures.
Speaking of cold.
Yeah, well, the temperature just wild temperatures for Toronto in April, and it worked out so perfectly in that Kevin Kiermaier, Jay's center fielder, had a ball go over his head, and he tracked it, and he tracked it, and he tracked it, and he took away a home run over the new fence, which has a light blue trim, a baby blue trim. On the fence. Oh, you're okay with that because I know we came into this saying you didn't like the renovations in general, and go ahead and be free with it. No one's listening, so don't worry about it. Let us know what you really think about the stadium because it definitely there are improvements. It definitely looks it looks different, especially the fencing, how there's cutouts and it's not uniform. From left field foul pole to the right field foul pole. What do you think about him, Joel?
Okay. Taz, have you ever seen Major League 2? Have you ever seen Major League 2?
Yes, I definitely.
Okay.
I remember the first one way more, and there's a reason for that. But yes.
Exactly, yeah. So the new outfield wall immediately reminded me of that scene from Major League 2 where the team is struggling with money and Roger Dorn sells a bunch of ad space on the outfield wall. That immediately popped into my mind when I saw the outfield wall because there were just sponsors all over. I don't know. I thought of that. I think from a fan standpoint, in terms of an in-stadium experience, it looks fantastic. I was watching City TV and CBC, and they were kind of going through and showing off the new amenities, and it looks amazing.
You're watching
You're
watching the Canadian channels from Taiwan.
On YouTube, yeah. Watching City TV.
Amazing.
City TV's everywhere, Tad. You know that.
So you like the amenities. Yeah, there's somewhere to hang out. There's somewhere to stand, which, being here in Truist Park at the Braves games, we'll get to it. I was happy to stand at a game. Now there's locations, even if you are sort of sardined in there.
Yeah. From a fan experience, I think it looks great. From in terms of playing the game, I think it's going to be a launching pad because the Skydome was already a very hitter-friendly park before the renovations. I think you're just going to see so many balls that last year that would have been a deep fly out. I think they're going to go for home runs, and I don't know if that's necessarily an advantage to Toronto per se. We don't know yet. But there was, I think, 4 or 5 home runs from last night's game.
Yeah.
So
5 home runs.
Yeah. So we'll see how that plays. And also one of the names, guys, be creative. One of the names is called Park Social. Really? Mm-hmm. That's what you came up with? I mean, you guys have had all this time you named Park Social. The Bird's Nest. It's because Park Social is the area for kids and families. Are you kidding me? Blue Jays, Bird's Nest? Come on. Park Social, miss me with that. So I think the names are a bit ridiculous of some of the new areas, but that's just me being nitpicky. But it looks fun. It'll be great. I think on the weekends, once the weather warms up, you got a lot of people there. They're obviously, I think they're targeting a younger crowd, which I think is a really good move on their point. And they're just kind of trying to make it a destination place. Even if you're not necessarily a big baseball fan, it's still kind of a cool place to go grab a couple of drinks. It's a great atmosphere. Blue Jays have great fans and they've got an exciting team. So I think it's the perfect year to do this, but I'm curious to see how many more runs are scored, how many more, fly balls go out for home runs and such, because I think, you're going to see a lot of home runs, and I don't know if that's necessarily going to be a good thing.
I hear you. I like the name call. The name call out, I didn't realize from Park Social to something like you suggested. The Bird's Nest is a good idea. JD, can I get your generic thoughts after night one?
I can't believe there isn't a Bird's Nest, especially the patio that's on the 500 level.
Yeah.
which I haven't seen yet. But
there's a patio on the 500
that's
level.
apparently, I read that there's an open air, patio way up high. That's got to be the bird's nest. I mean, it's just a no-brainer.
They still have time.
I'm surprised I guess I was kind of, when you said neighborhoods, that I was expecting them to be named after Toronto neighborhoods.
Right.
But I guess which neighborhoods,
Which there'd be many left out.
Yes, exactly.
So that is a great point, Joel, about the launching pad. 5 homers yesterday, 4 solo shots, and a 3-run shot by Kirk. That was perfect for the Jays fans as it hit that overhang right by the left field foul pole. I'm not sure the name of that overhang, but overhang could be it. I mean, if they're going with Park Social, let's just go pretty literal. So it's totally a good call. If you want to hit home runs, come on over. Now they did increase the wall height in the corners, so it's a higher wall, even though the dimensions will stay the same, and dimensions have changed a little bit throughout the park. I mean, it's just a few feet, really. It's like 4 feet down the left field line. But, left center has gotten a little bit deeper. So, I can't wait to see. And it was an open air night, so maybe there was a few extra dingers out there. But great stuff, Joel. Thank you for the comments on Rogers Center RE. I miss Rogers Center, there's no doubt. But let's take a quick break, Joel. I do want to just quickly circle back. The Angels have only pitched 5 guys. I should have done that checking beforehand, put you on the spot. I didn't think that it would be as easy as it was to go to Baseball Reference and figure that out, but it was pretty easy. Ohtani, Sandoval, Anderson, Detmers, and Suarez have pitched for them. But last year was a little bit different for them. But anyway, let's take a quick break, and after it, I attended a baseball game in 2023, and I'll let you know how different it was. We'll be right back.
It seems like there's a new data breach in the news every other day. In 2022 alone, there were over 1,800 data breaches that exposed personal information of over 422 million individuals. Victims of data breaches are easy targets for all sorts of cyber crimes. We are thrilled to partner with Aura. Aura is an all-in-one online safety solution that helps protect you and your family from identity theft, financial fraud, and online threats before they happen. With Aura, you can rest easy knowing that someone is looking out for you, and it is easy. They have a simple-to-use app or website. Answer a few questions, and you are up and running. If you're a victim of ID theft, their experienced white-glove fraud resolution team will help you navigate credit bureaus, help you initiate credit freezes or locks, and work with you around the clock to resolve it. Aura offers a suite of tools to protect you and your loved ones, including real-time alerts on suspicious credit activity, computer virus protection, parental controls, a VPN, and a password manager. Aura also helps reduce annoying robocalls, telemarketers, and junk mail by sending takedown requests on your behalf regularly. For a limited time, Aura is offering our listeners a 14-day trial plus a check of your data to see if your personal information has been leaked online. All for free when you visit aura.com/MLB show. That's aura.com/MLB show to sign up for a 14-day free trial and start protecting you and your loved ones. That's aura.com/MLB show. Certain terms apply, so be sure to check the site for details.
We are back on No Bunts, and as I've pitched to a couple times, I wanted to go to a game to get a feel for what it's like to be at a baseball game in 2023 with the new rules. On Monday night here in Atlanta, I went to Truist Park. The Braves were hosting the Reds. I purchased a ticket through a third-party app. I purchased a parking pass using that same third-party app. Now, could I have gotten a press pass? I hope so. I hope that's the case.
You would think. You would think.
Yes. But I didn't want that. I wanted to live the experience of a fan. I didn't want the ability to say, to brush something off and say, I got in for free. Like if there was something I didn't like in the stadium or something I didn't like with the new rules, I would just say, well, you know what? I parked for free. I got a free ticket. I wanted to feel the weight of the actual experience of a fan. So
and the pain points of paying the ticket, right? Yeah. But are you going to expense those tickets?
Oh, didn't think of that. No, I can't do that. Can't do that. You know what's funny is that the parking was more expensive than the ticket.
Wow.
Classic Atlanta.
Yeah.
They've got it locked down. They did it so smartly with the parking. Usually I'd go up to a stadium and I'd figure it out. Yeah. But it's such a pain. A parking pass made sense to purchase it.
Did you know where to go though?
No.
Yeah, that's
yeah. I know we've experienced this before. The signage is actually decent, but I still didn't know where I was going. I've got these big digital signs, lot 60, lot S60, and I turned away from the stadium. I wasn't, but
yeah,
it ended up being they've got a decent. Well, they've got it locked down. You go pay a lot for parking, a lot more than the actual ticket. Anyways, it's unfortunate that there's no real public transportation up there. They know what they did. They're making fist over fist of dollar there at Truist Park, which is a nice experience. Actually, speaking of that, since we're actually, I won't get into that. I'll get into it a little bit later, where somebody complained to me about the overpriced food. But let's get into that later, because I did want to go there just to get the feel, as you said, Joel, about the timing of each pitch and how it feels just to be a baseball fan and how that's a little bit different now. So first pitch, I was timing everything, 7:20 Eastern. I wrote it down, and I wanted to see how quick this game would go along. There are 2 clocks at the backstop on either side of the catcher that indicate, which when the pitch has to be delivered or when the motion of the pitcher has to start, when the windup has to start. 15 seconds when there's nobody on base, 20 seconds when there is somebody on base. And one thing I did notice on the scoreboards throughout the entire stadium, they have mound visits on there and the number of mound visits left for each team. So there's 5 mound visits for each team. Unless you use those, then you get an extra one in the 9th inning. But they're basically saying to people, making it clear to the fan, hey, we're clocking these things. We're not just letting pitchers or pitching coaches or managers go out there and hang out at the pitching mound. So they're just doing so much to, again, try and speed this thing up. The bat boys and bat girls were hustling, everybody hustling onto the diamond and hustling off the diamond. It's obviously a concerted effort, and I did notice this. Now you can tell me, Joel, if I'm sort of overemphasizing this, but I felt like I barely saw a catcher shake off a pitcher. I don't know if that's happening because of the PitchCom system, which was introduced last year for catchers to be able to send an audio message through a device on their wrist to type in instead of throwing, JD, if you weren't onside with this or this was unbeknownst to you, that catchers, usually throw one on the inside, say fastball inside, curveball outside, whatever. They now have the option of typing in a little device on their wrist, so that gets sent to the pitcher, and an audio, like they've got a speaker basically sewn into their hat or on their hat, and they hear that, and they just throw the pitch. But that was the system last year. Now pitchers can do that, and it's up to them if they want to use this device, but they'll throw a pitch, and they'll turn around, they'll go onto the back side of their glove, and they'll type in curveball, down and in. There needs to be no communication. There has been a couple problems with the audio system at the beginning of games, and that's when the catcher has to come out and say, "Oh, we got to go old school with the fingers here for the first inning, and then we'll figure it out when we get back into the dugout."
Well, what's the logic there? Just to expedite it?
Yeah, speed it up so there isn't the
signals and the
so there isn't the old look in.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like there was zero catchers shaking off pitchers. Am I way off base with that, Troll?
I don't think so, but just as a point too, I also think this PitchCom thing was also born out of potentially the Astros scandal, because there was the whole like trash can thing, and so I think this was partly born out of that. So it would be very, very difficult for teams to steal, because I think Boston and New York were using Apple Watches as well. So I think PitchCom was introduced as a way to basically just stop sign stealing altogether. But you're right. It does, it does speed up the game. And I don't really see too many pitchers shaking things off from their catcher. And like you said, now pitchers have the ability to have their own device and then communicate that to the catcher as well, which I think is new. So yeah, I haven't really seen much of that.
Yeah, the pitcher's ability to send it into the catcher is new this season. And yeah, it's definitely for cheating, as you said, Joel, definitely for that, but also it definitely speeds up the game. Shohei Ohtani is using it while he's on the mound. And the reasoning behind that is Ohtani's got so many pitches and so many variations of his pitches. And he's got a rookie catcher back there, Logan O'Hoppe back there. And basically, yeah, there doesn't need to be the old, what do you want to throw type thing. Like, you work on it before the game. But there is, that sometimes that, let's figure this out. And to me, even though that's baseball, even though, some of the moments you think back of are, Jack Morris shaking off a pitch and just that's baseball. And I was in a park yesterday and I saw some kid, had his leaned over, hand behind his back, doing the shaking his head and thinking about, just because that's what he sees professionals do. I think it makes total sense. And yeah, I wasn't close enough with my the cheap ticket that I bought to really see how much shaking of how many shake-offs there were, but I think it makes entire sense if pitchers, again, it's optional for pitchers to use this PitchCom system, but I like it. And this game was flying along, and I changed locations just to get a feel from a different location, and I wanted to report this. Time doesn't change no matter where you sit in a baseball park. So that was kind of dumb. But I was just having fun being in a stadium by my lonesome. Actually, when I checked I scanned my ticket, the ticket taker said, 2? I said, no. Rolling solo. I will say one thing that did feel a little rushed, Joel, and tell me this. So I mentioned pitch clock for guy on base, it's 20 seconds. Nobody on base, it's 15 seconds. When a hitter is retired, there's 30 seconds for the pitcher to start his windup to the next hitter, to deliver a pitch to the new hitter. So with the home team, especially with the Braves, that 30 seconds includes the walk-up music and the batter getting into the box. And that's when I kind of felt like it was a little bit faster. Now, that might just be me mentally wanting to hear a second bar of the song, or maybe because just the audio was a part of it, and that kind of threw me off a little bit. But I'm sure hitters aren't entirely used to hearing one bar of a song. Oh, Despacito, this is how we do it down in Puerto Rico, then get in the box. Like they are, it's just a new rhythm for them. But is it rushed compared to the old days when a guy is getting into the box, or am I like that kid just wanting the old, waiting for the batter to, to adjust himself and do his thing? Is it just I'm not used to it, or am I just totally off base with a hitter getting into the box?
No, I think these rules were designed to speed everything up. You can't have one without the other. Like me personally, I haven't really noticed that as an issue at all, Tess. I haven't really. I mean, you were there live in stadium, so maybe it was more apparent to you. But in terms of like watching games on TV, I haven't really noticed it. So, get your bars in. Make sure if you're going to pick a bar, make sure you're picking the one that counts. If you've only got 30 seconds to get in there. But I personally haven't really noticed it at all in terms of it like feeling rushed.
Okay. I totally agree with you. Do you think later on in the season, because Rob Manfred, Commissioner of Baseball, has allowed for some variations in these rules? He has said that when it gets to the postseason or when it comes to late game moments, we may adjust the rules where a pitcher can take a little bit more time. you think they'll allow for a little bit more time between pitches or between batters, or change any of the rules when it comes to these big moments or the postseason?
Mm-hmm. I think they will. Because, I mean, it's going to add more drama to the game, and you want those in those big moments, but you don't need to have a batter step out, for a minute and a half, or, you don't need to see a pitcher, call time and all that. Like, yes, that builds tension, but you don't need 2 or 3 minutes of that. Just throw the ball. I trust, like I said, I like the new rules. I think there'll be some bumps along the way, and they can always adjust it here and there. And I think, in October, if they were to add maybe 5 to 10 seconds here or there, I think that would be a good thing. And I still think you're going to get playoff games that, obviously are going to be longer because they are playoff games. They want to run more commercials and things like that. But in terms of total, game time, I think it'll be negligible, maybe 5 or 10 more minutes. And that's fine. I don't mind that. So if they want to, extend it into the postseason and adjust it, I'm totally fine with that. In fact, I probably encourage it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a slippery slope to make it happen now. I do think it's just because, like, where do you draw the line? Because in the regular season, it's working. Let me tell you, it's working. The games are so much faster. Going into the 9th inning, I thought I was going to be home before 10-ish. But the Braves allowed the Reds to tie it up. It was 3-1 going into the bottom of the 9th, and I'm checking the clock. Whoa, this is going fast. AJ Minter comes in here. I thought we're done, but he allowed a single, and then pinch hitter comes up. Stuart Fairchild, what a name! I thought, still, we're gonna get out of this at some point. But Fairchild lifted a fly ball deep to left, and unfortunately, I was in the 300 level, and this was under me, and I couldn't see it. But Kevin Pillar went up to grab it. Usually, the sure-handed Kevin Pillar, and the ball kind of ticked off his glove and hit the top of the wall. And it went back into play, and Fairchild got a triple out of it. It wasn't called an error. And Pillar may have even missed it and may have just hit the top of the fence. So a run comes in, it's 3-2, and he's on third with nobody out. They actually did a video review, which was a very sad moment in the ballpark, because it was an umpire's and official's video review to see whether or not it was actually a home run, whether or not it went over the fence. It wasn't to see if anything would be overturned. It would just be an additional base tacked on. So when they came back and they said, yeah, the call stands, Braves fans had to cheer in a weird way. I mean, everybody was cheering for a triple that hurt us. Anyways, Fairchild scored. The game went into extras, and at that point it was 2 hours and 37 minutes of 9 full innings in this instance. And I wondered, do I stay? Do I stay for an extra inning? Of course I do.
Yeah.
If I'm going to expense this ticket, then I better stay for the entire thing. But as we know, there's a runner placed at second in extras during the regular season, and the Braves allowed a run in the top of the 10th, and then with a runner on in the bottom of the 10th, first hitter Sean Murphy, Braves catcher that they got in the offseason, in that the big deal with the 3-team deal with the Oakland A's. Braves fans were worried. Sean Murphy's going to take away from our Travis d'Arnaud. Totally understandable. And the calls, the squirreliness was even louder during the first few games because he was only 3 of 20 coming into this game. But I saw the Sean Murphy breakout game. He had a couple doubles, and then in the bottom of the 10th, bang, first pitch, went yard, and that was the game. 2-run shot to win it. He had 3 hits in this one, and game time was 2 hours and 47 minutes as we all exploded. 10-inning game. Yeah, it was extremely quick, and I know we've had a sub 2-hour game, right, Joel?
Yeah, Miami and Minnesota, they had a sub 2-hour game. I think the final score was 1-0 last week. So yeah, I mean, it's just moving right along. But the fact that you went to an extra inning game and it was just shy of 2 hours and 40 minutes, that's unreal.
Yeah, 2 hours 37 minutes, and I'm worried, Joel. I'm worried that baseball might be the fastest of the 4 major sports here. I've been saying it about basketball forever, but it's going to be neck and neck. Basketball will still probably be a little bit shorter, but baseball, yeah, it's going to be very close to the 2 hour 35-minute mark. It was in last year during the minor leagues. It ended up being at around 2 hours and 40 minutes, and I imagine that's where it'll land. And I have this old dumb rule watching baseball forever. I thought 3 innings of baseball always takes an hour. It's just the way it goes. But now, new rule. It's 50 minutes for every 3 innings of baseball. It's a little bit shorter, and I just want to get all this time talk out of the way now in April, because I just want to talk about the games, and I want to talk about other things. But I'm glad that going to the game for me was just a good experience. I did hear, overheard some conversations. I'm doing my reporting. Hearing some fans say, I heard one fan say to another, is it all right if we go here before the game? And the other fan said, well, if we miss the first pitch, no big deal. That's baseball. Sometimes you care about seeing the first pitch. Sometimes you don't. I know a lot of fans complain about being in the stadium so far, just hearing the conversations. And they're basically like, I don't want to leave my seat and miss a full inning of baseball because the game is going so fast. It's a real counterintuitive argument. Just stay in your seat then, or be faster going to concessions, or
they have vendors that come through. Like, you don't need to leave. Yeah,
basically it's a social game. It's Park's social game, and people just want to go and hang out in the corridors and just hang out and talk. And I get that. It is fun, but there's no time to talk anymore. The game's too fast. Danielle was texting me. I said, I can't. There's no time to talk. I got a baseball game to watch here. I got to walk up to the 300s and really work on my glutes. That was a long walk up to the 300s, but a fun time. I didn't see one stolen base, though, unfortunately.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, I'm looking. I want the stolen bases are up, as you said, Joel. Mm-hmm. Just the look as well, getting back to what it was 20 years ago without the shift, where there is a fielder on either side of second base, shortstop, and a second baseman on either side of second base. Now they're playing guys up the middle who pull, like Matt Olson was up, and the shortstop, as a left-handed hitter, the shortstop was playing him basically right up the middle, with his feet on the right side of the left side of the bag, but on the proper side of the bag. So it looks a little bit different. But the fact that that there could be a little bit more athleticism because guys aren't bunched up, 3 infielders on one side, I think makes for just a little bit more better anticipation, more entertainment. Now, we haven't seen let's say it's a left-handed hitter like Matt Olson. We haven't seen the left fielder come play short right field. Like, there were those experiments in spring training where a few managers, not many, but a few decided, okay, let's feel this out. Should we just keep left field wide open when there's a left-handed hitter up at the plate? But the risk is too high for that. So I'm guessing, I'm pretty sure that we haven't seen that during the regular season quite yet. So I like that it looks, more like baseball. It feels like there's more athleticism to be had. It feels like there are going to be more doubles and triples, and the stolen bases have definitely gone up. So I was excited, and even if I paid $12 for this bucket of popcorn,
Ooh.
And I got a collector's item here, where I have the schedule on here now as I slowly turn it towards the camera.
Oh, nice!
I was in the 9th inning, and a fan said to me, "Oh, what'd you pay? What'd you pay for that popcorn? $12?" And I said, "Yes, that's exactly right, sir. That was exactly $12." And he said, "Well, yeah, my friend here, I brought him for the first time, spilled his beer, had to buy him a new one. $12. $12 for a Blue Moon." He's like, I don't drink, but it's his first time here, so I had to buy him one. But this is a great place. This is what he said. He just wanted me.
They at least put an orange slice on that for $12. I would hope so.
Yeah, a can of beer was $12.
Wow.
which was more expensive than my ticket, or very close to my ticket, whatever it was.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways, a great experience. Hauled my butt out of there. door to door, a little over three-ish hours, a fun time, and game times are down, and it doesn't feel unlike baseball to me. Even though, as you said, is there one particular thing that is in your craw, Joel? Because you said it feels different to you, and I want to get your perspective because you've watched a lot more baseball than me. Is there one particular thing that is different, that makes it feel different to you?
I would say just kind of the inconsistency with how they're enforcing the rules. Tim Anderson got kicked out of a game because I think they call it the Max Scherzer rule because he was kind of playing loose with the rules in spring training, kind of figuring out how to game the system. And so I think they amended it even in spring training. You have to the pitcher and the hitter need to make eye contact, and then that officially signifies that the pitcher can throw it. I'm paraphrasing and I might be getting it slightly wrong, but Logan Webb struck out Tim Anderson on a pitch, and Anderson wasn't ready. And then he got kicked out of the game because he was arguing, but he said, wait a second, I was in the box, but I didn't make eye contact with the pitcher. And so I think there's just a bit of inconsistency with the way that some of these are being enforced. But again, there's going to be some growing pains and, it'll be rough around the edges for a bit, but that's my only thing. And Tass, really, if I'm being honest, I'm nitpicking. That doesn't even really bother me that much. They'll get it right. The players will adapt. The umps will adapt. Everyone will adapt. But that's really the only thing I would, kind of say that's bothered me, through the first 2 weeks. All
right, great stuff. So Tim Anderson got kicked out of a game. Perfect segue. We got a new game to play. It's called Yer Out. It's a fun game, which I'm sure will be recurring here on No Bunts throughout the season. One of these has to go. 3 objects within a category. One's got to go. We're going big here. We're going stadiums today. And one of these historic parks has to go. Camden Yards, Oriole Park at Camden Yards, if you want to be technical about it. Wrigley Field, and Petco Park. Now, you brought these up, Joel, so let's start. You start. Which of the 3, you've been to all 3, I assume.
I have.
Okay, I've only been to one of the 3, so let's take your expert opinion. Which one would you eliminate? One has got to go.
This, as soon as I wrote this, then when I was preparing for the show, I'm like, oh man, I think I stepped in it. All 3, I just want to preface this by saying I love all 3 parks. And I'm not just saying that to, I genuinely like all 3 parks. They're very unique in their own way. When I was kind of coming up with this, I said, I'm going to pick a traditional state, a very old stadium, a more modern stadium, and then one that was built in the 90s, which was obviously Camden Yards. It's, I think, almost 30 years old. So kind of taking it from 3 different generations. Okay, Tass, I got to get rid of one. Here we go. Okay, here comes the internet scored. Tass, I'm getting rid of Wrigley.
Wow.
Okay, but here's why. In recent years, they've made changes to Wrigley that I feel has made it worse.
Interesting.
They put in a giant scoreboard in, I believe, right field, which looks odd to me.
Oh, so they got rid of the old do it by hand scoreboard.
I believe so. Yeah, there's a giant digital scoreboard in right field, which I think kind of sticks out like a sore thumb in a place like Wrigley. And also, too, I don't know the specifics on this. I was doing a bit of research. The Cubs bought up. You used to be able to watch Cubs games from the rooftops, from the center field area. And I think the Cubs have bought up a lot or a significant amount of those units. And now they charge money. I don't like that. I think that's kind of a FU to the fans. I know the Cubs have a very loyal fan base. And another thing is too, Tass, if I was at a game at Wrigley in the summer when the ivy is in, I would love it. But when I went there in April, it was cold and gray, and the ivy wasn't in at all. The ivy hadn't grown in. It did not look good. It looked just ugly. I'm sorry to say it. It was cool being in a traditional park, but with Petco and with Camden Yards, I feel they look good all year round.
Well, what is Chicago supposed to do? Situate themselves in California?
Yeah. But it just in terms of like an experience, like Petco is just a beautiful park. It's modern, but like it's got great facilities. It's got great amenities. Wrigley Field doesn't really have any amenities. So if you're kind of like a casual fan, there's really not much you can do other than watch the game, which isn't a bad thing. But the surrounding neighborhood's really, really cool, which makes Wrigley unique. Camden Yards is just beautiful. I mean, and if I had to visualize, like if I had to create my perfect stadium, it's Camden Yards. It's so beautiful. I've been there a few times. The warehouse. Tass, I don't know if you knew this. If you hit a ball out onto Utah Street, they actually mark it with a plaque, which I think is a really cool touch. And they've got Ken Griffey's who hit the warehouse during the home run derby. It's just a beautiful park. And Petco, like, even though it's modern, it's just a fantastic park. I like the Western Metal Supply warehouse there too. And San Diego's got great food options, like lots of international food. You know, I like to get my eat on at a game. So when I was at the Cubs game, I don't really remember there being a lot of food options at the time. So all three are great stadiums, but between these three, I got to get rid of Wrigley. I'm sorry.
Got to get rid of
Please don't hate me.
The legendary Wrigley Field. I'm totally with you. I would do the same. I would do the same. That's the only one that I've been to, and I had an incredible experience. As you said, the surrounding neighborhoods, just being able to file out of there and just spill out into anywhere around there. So accommodating and was a blast. But within the park, maybe they've changed the food options. I did look back on my photos. I just saw there was a photo of me and a hot dog. So I'm guessing, this is ignorant talk here, but I'm guessing the food options are better at Petco Park. But anyway, the point is, it's hard to compare Wrigley and Petco entirely. Wrigley, I wanted to go because of the nostalgia. That's part of baseball. They apparently, speaking of nostalgia, they still do have that the analog scoreboard, but they do have the digital scoreboard, as you mentioned.
Oh, okay.
So they've added that in to modernize it a bit. And I'm seeing here in the stream team that it was worse. Our man Ziggy commenting live here that Wrigley was worse, according to him, before the renovations that took place.
Oh, okay.
And I because I know that stadium, and I still have the nostalgic feeling of going to Camden Yards. I still want to go there. As you said, it was early 90s, 92. It was that first of the retro parks, and everybody copied it because they had to, because it was so great. It was such a success, and Petco looks phenomenal as well. I say phenomenal. I'm sure it's an experience. The skyline, the backdrop. I might be changing my tune. Talking about Petco. Camden's staying, but I don't know about this. The Petco look. Can you sell me a little bit more? Because I don't think it's not overwhelmingly. I don't know what the word is. It's aesthetically pleasing. It's a park. But I think, it's not aesthetically pleasing. Wow. Okay, well, it's strong. That was a strong
bringing out
take.
the big words here.
Strong. It's. What kind of feeling do you get being in Petco? That's what we're going for, because the feeling in Wrigley, sure, there's a lot of concrete. It doesn't feel as like a ballpark. For like a new ballpark, it feels like an old ballpark. But what's the feeling you get when you're in Petco?
Well, the atmosphere is amazing. I think that's a big thing too. When I went to go, and again, like can't really fault Wrigley for this. When we went to go see the Cubs, it was in April and they had an awful team and it wasn't really like a meaningful game. But when I was in San Diego last September, they were like in a playoff race. They were playing the Dodgers. Like it was a huge game. The atmosphere was phenomenal. But yeah, like it's beautiful at night. It's hard to, there you go. That's beautiful.
JD went for it. It is picturesque. Yeah. It is California. Sorry, Chicago.
It is California. And Tass, like I got a bit of bias. I'd never been to San Diego until last year, and I absolutely love San Diego. Chicago's a great city too, but San Diego just really blew me away. But in terms of the ballpark experience, it was so good. The atmosphere was amazing. The amenities, and also it's very accessible to get to. I remember when we went to Wrigley, I think we had to I remember taking a taxi or an Uber. I can't remember. I don't know how accessible it is, but Petco, we just kind of took public transportation very close to the stadium, which I think is a plus, but you have to experience it. Like San Diego, because it's really the only sports team in town there, I believe, after the Chargers left. It's just like the atmosphere is absolutely electric, and it just adds to just that great stadium feeling. And there's no real bad seat in the house. I know at Wrigley too, there's actually seats behind like partitions, which I think is kind of funny. I don't think any of the new stadiums that is a thing. So, that's another little mark against Wrigley. But yeah, Petco, Tass, I'm sure you'll make it out there one day. You will have a blast. It is a great stadium. Trust me.
Are you saying it's aesthetically pleasing? Is that what you're saying?
It is very aesthetically pleasing.
According to the image that JD just put up, a photo, it's aesthetically pleasing. And I think
at sunset from a drone shot way above it, right?
And and as much as I've poked fun or obviously said, hey, Chicago can't be in California, that is a big part of baseball. Mm-hmm. Sitting outdoors, being in the Rays stadium. Sorry, you just lose. You lose so much. Being in the Sky Dome, as biased as we are, with it closed, what a different feeling.
It's not the same.
No. It's human nature. So there we are. There we are, Joel. I think you made the right pick. I'm gonna.
It was tough. It was tough.
I'm gonna be on the fence here. There's no way I'm eliminating Camden Yards. But I got to go to Petco. Maybe this was just me hoping that the Athletic, even if they won't expense my ticket to the Braves game, that they will send me to Petco Park. Send both of us. Send all three of us to Petco Park to take in a game and report on it. But that was our first edition of Yer Out. JD, do you think it's coming back after that premiere edition of that segment?
Oh, hell yeah. I just need to make a sting for it. That's all.
You're busy, man.
Yeah. I spent about 45 minutes trying to get all three stadiums onto like a graphic so we could see them all together. Oh. It's impossible. Like
just because of the dimensions?
The dimensions, the 16:9 aspect ratio, and just like the Wrigley Field one, it was just I went for the outside sign actually, because that's the kind of the cool, when you Google it, that's what comes up first. Mm-hmm. And in Petco, really all of the shots, if you Google Petco Stadium, it's all the aerial shot.
Yeah.
Lots at sunset because it's so picturesque. But anyways, yeah. So we'll flesh it out and actually have some graphics and stings and stuff for it.
Like Joel who has been to many stadiums, I'm sure he's felt this, but because they are so wide, because when you do take a photo of a stadium, photo problems here, you got to go landscape, and I'm sure it's hard to put them together. I've been there, done that. Anyways, speaking of been there, done that, just to circle back really quickly, our man Ziggy in the stream team, when it comes to the Rays going perfect for the season, he came up with this number. I honestly don't know what it means, but these are the odds of the Rays being perfect. The Rays have a 1.2417872 E plus 25 to 1 chance of going undefeated. What does that even mean?
So the 25 would be, I think, zeros.
Yeah, to
right?
the 25th.
To the 20, yeah. So what's that, a not quintillion, it's higher than that. It's a
Right. It's higher than that.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. It's more impossible, less likely than winning the Powerball.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Far
the
less
entire
likely.
team being struck by lightning during the season.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So
not
it's
going
not
to
going to
happen.
happen.
No.
Okay. What will happen is we will return next week, every week here on No Bunts. Join us throughout the entire season. For Joel, for JD, thanks for joining us. Make sure you subscribe on the Athletic Baseball Show on YouTube or wherever you get your pods. But for now, we'll see you next time.